Recently, we learned a little bit about the immediate future for Warzone and what's up on deck, with Raven commenting on some of these things coming within Season 3 and shortly there beyond, right before the launch of Season 3. One of those things was the confirmation that they are aware of and are working on a next-generation version for Warzone, specifically targeted for that PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S consoles. So what can you expect from it? Is there any timetable that you can look to see for that coming? And what will that mean for the future of Warzone and what is actually available in each console version of the game? That said, today we're going to take a look at all of that and let you know what you need to about this next generation version of Warzone. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you hope to see out of the next generation version of Warzone? And that said, when would you like to see it? I would assume sooner rather than later, but feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. As well, if you enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone and anything COD related. We'll keep you up to date with absolutely everything you need to know. And if you'd like to join us on that road to 500,000 subscribers, I'd love to have you. And finally, check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage releasing their new Horizon frames. If you guys would like to learn more, link in the description below. And if you want to check them out, feel free to use code Espresso. But said, let's jump right into it. So the discussion at hand today stems from that pre-briefing that we talked about last week here on the channel, in which a couple of days before the launch of Season 3 and the launch of the new Warzone map, YouTube creators, press, and people from the gaming media were invited to a Zoom call hosted by Activision, Treyarch, as well as Raven, in which during that call, Raven and Treyarch ended up pitching their content that was going to be seen for Season 3 that is now live across the globe for all players who end up playing either Warzone or Black Ops Cold War. During this Zoom call, at the end, after the pitch was all done, Amos Hodge from Raven and Miles Leslie from Treyarch ended up fielding questions from the audience, to which the question was asked, does Raven have any plans for Warzone to get PS5 and Xbox Series X support with this update? To which the answer was a little bit more in-depth than maybe we initially anticipated. It wasn't just a simple yes or no. Instead, it was mentioned that this was something that was in the works here, but it wasn't going to be with the Season 3 launch, with that update that the question was referring to. For those wondering why this is so important, it's because that Warzone right now currently plays on the PlayStation 4 version if you have PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X does have a slightly upgraded version here to it, but it's not unlocking the full potential of what the console has to offer. So a lot of people have been looking for a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X version of the game that's dedicated to it using those hardware upgrades since the new consoles released at the end of last year. When describing this a little further, Amos Hodge, the studio's creative director, did end up mentioning that Warzone is currently a live service game, that they're rolling things out in real time, they're updating the game in real time. It's not a content drop and then months of radio silence, though some may argue that, but they were focused at that point on the Season 3 update, though they did say that was something they did have in their minds and they were looking to put more effort into in the coming days to weeks. He ended up mentioning also that Raven had a dedicated technology team within the studio working specifically on Warzone's engine and technology for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S consoles. So what's the importance of this? What would actually come then of an update like this, something for the next generation consoles? Well, the big one, and I'm sure that a lot of people are really interested in this, is the 120 Hz support. That being something that is, I think, seen currently on Xbox Series X through a workaround or an update that was actually released a couple of months back, but was not there initially whenever the console launched with support of the game, but also to support things like ray tracing, SSD enhancements, and other items that were big selling points for the next generation consoles. One of those big ones is the talk of an FOV slider for Warzone. We talked about this a little bit as of, I think it was last week, depending on when this video goes up, in which Raven ended up acknowledging the fact that they know a lot of people are interested in an FOV slider, and as somebody that plays on PC, that has played on console, an FOV slider is absolutely one of those things that is a huge advantage within the game. If I can see something like double that of the point of view and perspective of somebody on console, that allows me to be much more situationally aware. It may allow me to make more educated and thoughtful moves within the game that could otherwise result in a death within Warzone. So an FOV slider, being able to see more of that environment, is absolutely something I would classify as a platform advantage for PC over console. So to be able to level that playing field would be absolutely huge. Now again, Raven is aware of these requests. They have mentioned that it is something they want to do and that they're actively looking at implementing it for the consoles of the future. But just like the timeline for the overall PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S next generation update, there is no expected timetable on this. They didn't give us any sort of idea as to when we'd be able to expect it, which makes me wonder if this is a little bit more farther off than we may hope. Maybe something that launches maybe closer to the launch of Call of Duty 2021 here, later in the fall or something perhaps, maybe in the summer, but not anywhere within Season 3, maybe not even within Season 4. But alas, an update is coming for next generation consoles, whenever that may be. One thing though that I initially wonder whenever we take a look at what this next generation console will do, how some of the fundamentals will be changed within Warzone, say if an FOV slider is added, I partially wonder then if this would be the time in which Warzone then breaks apart and becomes its own standalone application, because right now it is tethered to Modern Warfare, the base game of Modern Warfare, as that sort of third or fourth mode, however you want to classify it, where yes, you can uninstall all of the Modern Warfare content, but that doesn't change the fact that the boot exe is still Modern Warfare. So if we were to add something like an FOV slider into the console version of Warzone, that by a sort of theory would then have to extend it to Modern Warfare, in which that was never something that was ever acknowledged or anything like that, and especially with Modern Warfare's support seemingly running out, its days being numbered, and only a handful of items still remaining that have yet to be released, that really wouldn't make a ton of sense on a developmental scale to add it backwards in there, to be retroactive with that, though I definitely would not argue the introduction of it. I just don't see that being their most logical move here with that. So if they were to then take a step and make Warzone its own application, not only one, then would you not have to adjust the Modern Warfare application, but also it sets up the game for much more future success. We already have that cross-launch available here with it, and while it's fine to cross-launch from Black Ops Cold War to Modern Warfare, as we go on further and further into the future, I can't imagine that the intended target for Activision would have everybody launch back to Modern Warfare, all the way into, say, 2023, 2024, in games further on in the future, since it is mentioned that Warzone currently has plans upwards of the next few years in development. I don't necessarily see them continuing on using that same boot application of Modern Warfare. So if there was ever a time to do it, it would make sense that when you're making some fundamental underlying decisions like this, to create an application so that you're not always pulled back to something that potentially could be so far in the past once time progresses. So that might be a logical explanation here too for when this next generation upgrade goes out. But long story short, it is something that Raven is aware of here, and it is something that they're working on with a dedicated team directly working for this common goal. When it actually comes out, your guess is as good as mine. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon here, unfortunately, and I think that might partially just come down to still so many people not having these next generation consoles. So it could be something that they're looking at it and working on it on a somewhat hands-off approach, where they're working on it in the background, but it's not their main focus until a certain number of players end up having those next generation consoles. That maybe even being something so far off that they don't introduce a next generation version of the game until we stop getting support in Call of Duty for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One consoles. I don't know if it'll be that long, but who knows? Though just be aware that it is something on the horizon. We just don't know how far away. That said, that is where we're going to wrap it up. Just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit here about some of the information rounding out. We're still on the topic of discussion as of that pre-brief a little bit before Season 3 launched, and some information that we didn't quite get around to talking about here on the channel. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Are you guys hoping to see a next generation update for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S for Warzone anytime soon? And when do you think it will launch? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone and anything COD related. We'll keep you up to date with absolutely everything you need to know. So if you guys are interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to strike a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.